Today is Friday, July 16th, 2021, and this timification of the day is going to mix some hopium with something a little different that I'll share at the end. It's going to mix it with some crypto depression, which is a real thing, which is why I'm going to post this here at the end.
Yeah, but the angel makes the devil again, again. Why? Yeah, so I say, why don't you help me by giving me a break?
All right, so yeah, Bitcoin can give us a friggin' break here, and that would help everybody with their crypto with their crypto issues right now. Give me a break. So, but a lot of times when you need a break, that means, you know, the opposite is true. It's yin and yang, right? The times that you need a break is when you're down. So, at the end of this video, I'll play that whole song for you, and you can see how goofy I look when I'm playing. It's not professional recorded. I was just using an iPhone, or no, not even an iPhone, just a cheap Samsung to record it. But so let's do some analysis first, because there is some actual hopium here in the charts. So on my video from Monday, I analyzed off-chain analytics, and there was one major thing that made my analysis confused, because the disparity did not make sense in terms of the incentive structure that a certain group would have, and it just didn't align with what would be logical that their incentive is, and that just changed. So a lot of the analysis from Monday, when you saw things on my screen like this, as opposed to a black chart, using CryptoQuant, free version, I haven't paid for it yet. I don't know if I like it, but I kind of do like it. Anyway, it just changed. So there is some hopium. So as a quick summary, the whale ratio means when it's high, that means whales have a lot of Bitcoin on exchanges. And what that insinuates is, it doesn't guarantee, is that there's a lot of potential sell pressure. However, what that also could mean is that Bitcoin was put on there knowing that people stare at this to get people bearish to take on shorts, right? Which is the dot I did not connect. And if that were true, perhaps it would come down right before a big move happens, but that would have to coincide with retail investors taking on a lot of shorts, which it looks like they certainly have, because if you could look at the difference between shorts are irrational, which alludes to mass market psychology. So that's why I have a feeling this is more from retailers getting convinced that things are bearish for obvious reasons. Things are bearish, right? But longs, although they have broken cycle structure of all-time highs, it's not being irrational. It's plateauing and being completely rational, and it's starting to go up exactly as shorts are going down, which means if the retail people were the ones taking shorts, as more and more bear signs came about, that means that during a certain period, during the bearish, as people add more and more shorts, the market whales who are looking to essentially, get people liquidated and move price the other direction after a fake out like a bear trap, that means they were slowly and quietly accumulating their longs as the shorts went up and up, because they can't accumulate longs unless there are enough shorts, right? To have a lot of longs, you have to have a lot of shorts. Therefore, if you saw the overall graph of all leveraged plays, that has to be going up like very substantially, because the shorts are very high and the longs are at an all-time high, and I'm pretty sure that is one of my favorites on here. I think it is. They're out of order. It's not that one either. Not that one. Right here, yes. So, all exchanges futures open interest. It is getting to the highest point since the drop. So open interest is rising. Maybe this is the one I was looking at. Oh, leverage ratio. Here we go. Yeah. So leverage in general, shorts and highs, is getting to the heights of where leverage plays were, at least on this graph, back when Bitcoin was raging, and then it had a complete drop off. So that does align. So from that analysis, the off-chain data says there's almost like negligent sell pressure from miners, which takes away from the bears. So that's a point for the bulls. The NVT signal, it has a pattern of beginning a bullish move as it comes above, as the orange line comes above the horizontal, fails it and comes back up. That's often when moves start beginning to happen on the upside. And the fact that the stable coin ratio is at a super low point, which means if whales are the ones with a bunch of BTC on exchanges, or at least they did, right? It was at a high point. That insinuates that, well, if stable coins are dominating right now in terms of people's holdings on exchanges, that's retailers who have stable coins too, heavily. So the end of that analysis was on Monday. Well, it looks like retail folks are ready to buy a dip, but whales have a lot of BTC on exchanges, which would insinuate they might be ready to sell. But then also it looks like, though, that not only are people ready to buy it more lower, but they're also, the retail people are ready to short it, which those two don't align with the fact that whales had a lot of Bitcoin ready to sell, because that means they're selling Bitcoin would benefit the retail people, the little people. They don't want that. I said, that's huge divergence. It doesn't make sense why that would be true. And since the whale ratio just slammed back down, it makes everything make sense that it kind of puts, it gives evidence that a move up is about ready to happen, which will liquidate a lot of retail shorts. So there's some hopium for you. I really think, okay. And so if you go down to something like the 4 hour, the 10 and 21 have been acting as, major points of resistance. You just had a massive green candle up, got rejected by the 21, came back down and closed above the 10 precisely, and is starting to come up. I suspect that the 4 hour will likely race right up to the 89, maybe get rejected, come up here, make a higher low, but then I think it's going to pass it and go up to the over the next 3 or 4 days. I think it's going to test the 4 hour 200 EMA. Maybe not that high. Maybe what would be up there? The daily 21. Let's take a look. Something that's about at this top trend line here of the triangle. It's probably the 21. Yes. So I really suspect that price here soon is going to close above the daily 10 and come up to the 21. Maybe, play around with it for a little bit, but I have a feeling that within the next week, like during next week, price is going to be closing a candle above the 21. If that evidence is pointing to the right thing, because I want to be very clear, there are way more check marks for the bears right now. And I think everybody knows that. That's what all analysts are looking at right now. Yeah, it's very clearly bearish. So I want to be very clear with that. I'm not sitting here saying, bet the house on a long. Hell no, that actually would, I am not saying that, right? I'm not saying this is a 90% trade like I did that one time and that was totally wrong. I don't think I'd ever say that again. But, so what I'm saying here is not financial advice. This is what I'm seeing as a case for the bulls, and why it would be a trickier play that you would see primarily on off-chain data. And that's what I'm seeing. So I don't do a lot of off-chain data analytics very often, but that's what it's telling me right now, folks. So the things to look out for in the immediate term, if this does start playing out, is on the 4 hour chart. You see a 4 hour close above this this yellow line, which is the 21 EMA. I mean, Bitcoin has not played above that line very often. And when it does, that's typically, in the middle or the end of a push up. And if you see, so I would focus on the 4 hour EMAs. I would take the 55 off. That hasn't been a huge indicator. But all the others have. All these others have been huge points of price movement. So just looking at the 4 hour chart is going to be very helpful. And then flipping back to the day, once if Bitcoin can close a daily candle above the daily 21, you're probably going to get some acceleration to the upside. But then you have resistance at about 39K, which was the daily 200, which created the last resistance. So, and you also have resistance levels, horizontals at at local highs here. So you have a resistance level at 35,900, and you have a lot of things to watch if price is going to inch up. So I would consider those profit taking points, as opposed to trying to hold on to Bitcoin until it goes to 100K. I wouldn't do that in a move. I would take my profits at logical points without trying to without trying to take home the bank. I would be taking profits very regularly if I were actively trading right now with leverage. And I don't suggest leverage to you. It's simply what I know a lot of people are into right now. All right. So I think there's hopium for Bitcoin, but if the hopium does play out, that's how you're going to see it. You're going to be able to see it first on the 4-hour chart, which means this closure above the 10 to recheck it really does hold, and price starts moving up, and it'll probably have a little hesitation around here. And what happens after that, who knows? But that's what I would be eyeing, is the 4-hour 89, which aligns pretty closely with the daily 10, which is coming in about here. So this area, or just around the top of this trend line, is not only going to have the trend line that pattern traders are looking at, but it's going to have the 4-hour 89, the daily 21, and if price really breaks out of here, it's going to be a violent move up, and it might fly past the daily 200, or fly straight up to 39,000 up to the daily 200. It could fly up pretty fast. However, there is one extra point of concern, which would be a good profit taking point if you do end up taking a long position here, is the daily 55. Now on the 4-hour hasn't gotten a lot of action, but one thing I would look out for a bull trap is this. This would be the perfect bull trap setup. So please watch out for this if you're being long here. You have the last local high. So in traditional trading, if a daily candle can close above this candle here, that would be traditionally very bullish, and price typically gains steam to the upside. It's just usually what happens. So if the puppeteers, because we pretty much can confirm that that's what's happening with price action on Bitcoin, not necessarily Ethereum right now, but if the puppeteers wanted to create an awesome bull trap, this is exactly what I would do. I would pump price up quickly above this line, have a daily close, have the next day go above this line definitively, and then the same day before 8 p.m., tank price back down to the range. Maybe it's only to the top side of this, but that's what I would do over next week. So over the next 7 days, when the next week's candle starts, or even before that starts, starting now potentially, but in taking 7 days, that is what I would do, because it would get a lot of people pretty bullish, and they would be able to take on a pretty good amount of shorts. And what you would see happen is this short ratio would go meow, and then the longs would stop being rational looking, and they would become irrational, and you'd probably see, wavy crap that is related to mass market psychology more going in waves than very, plateauy looking movements here, which makes me think that this is the whales who are getting ready to pump price. It makes me think it's possible, very possible, but I wouldn't say likely or hugely probable. And so, so be watching the daily 55 on a move up. That could be like a mini bull trap. And then price can come right back down to the range and then maybe break out, or maybe, lose the weekly 55, which is a point of concern right now. So another point of concern right now is the weekly 55. Bitcoin has 2 days left in the week. I mean, if it closes below here, that's below the blue line, the weekly 55. That's traditionally pretty bad. And 100% of times that Bitcoin has done that in its price history, it has always broken through to the downside, the 89, after closing below the 55, and it always hits the 200, which is below 20K right now. So just a heads up that is in play. However, puppeteers want more perfect of a way to have price close a week under this before you pump price, because that would allow you to take on even more longs, because more people are going to short. So if you see the week close below here, I bet you're going to see shorts skyrocket one more push up, kind of like it looks here. I would suspect you see a turnaround here, and I bet you get one more push up, and then I would fully suspect a move to the upside after that happened. So I'm smelling a bear trap then a bull trap, like right in a row, which is kind of what Wyckoff does. And that's how that's just part of suppressing price to accumulate down low. And then in the meantime, screwing around with folks in their traditional trading methods and lead them one way, because they can puppeteer roughly how high things go with their algorithms and, market buying $10 million at a time as they're setting up leverage positions on an exchange that has an agreement of some sort with them. And then a few other folks who are, pulling the same strings you are. And they're kind of doing things together. And that's kind of what it looks like here. So if I were those people, just remember that you don't need to think just traditional trading right now. You need to be thinking, how would I screw myself? Or how would I screw everybody else? You need to instill that within your technical analysis, on your own part. You need to consider what happens traditionally and based off what is traditional. So a bearish cross leads to bearish moves on EMAs, right? A weekly closure below the weekly 55 would lead to accelerated price to the downside, right? So those are traditional things. Another traditional thing is if price can close a daily candle above this point, traditionally you would get acceleration to the upside. Bull trap, right? So is everything here a trap? I mean, a lot of it has been. So, make sure you're considering that when you're looking at charts. Try to figure out, how would I lead me astray so I can screw myself, or how can I screw these other people because I have $100 million. Think like you have $100 million during these times, okay? And so if I had $100 million, I would do it. I would potentially set a further bear trap first. Since we're so close to the end of the week, why not? 2 more days. Do a bear trap before a bull trap. Shoot. Have it close down here. And this is thinking like you have $100 million to play with, trying to screw other people. Yeah, 2 more days, close down here, sure. And then more people are going to short. That means I can take on more longs, make even more money. Then I'll pump price above these daily areas here, and then I'll take my profits on my longs, start accumulating shorts. But before I do, in order so I can accumulate more shorts, I got to get more people long. So I'll fly price above here, and then I'll be able to have enough shorts because more people are longing, and then I'll crush price down to the ground. So that's thinking like a whale. Since we're so close to the end of the week, I would, if I had control of roughly where a weekly candle closed, because I was in on it with other people with a lot of money and some agreement with the exchanges, I would do this first. And then I would do a bull trap, and then I would return price down to a range so I could continue accumulating Bitcoin. And I make money with leverage in 2 directions before I put it back down. So that might be what happens as well. And so that this line dropping back down, saying whales don't have a lot of Bitcoin on the exchanges, or more of an average amount, that means, well, since we're 2 days away, I don't need so much Bitcoin on exchanges right now because it's, I can just keep a little bit of sell pressure down to keep it right there if that is the plan. All right. Or thinking like a whale, if you see this close above, that might lead more and more people bullish, and then you have the day close above this, local high and wick past here. That could actually, make you take on a bunch of shorts because that'll get a lot of people long, seeing the weekly close above. However, if I were a whale, I would do it down, then up, and then back to the range. I would get 2 plays out of it, especially since the week is almost over. It's getting pretty close. And there's less, the order books are thinner, which means fewer people, like fewer obstacles to move price, right? It's easier to move price if you have millions of dollars. And that's what I'm seeing in the charts. So the daily Stokes are getting ready to cross up. The 4-hour just closed very strong above its 10, came down to recheck it. 4-hour RSI is trying to pull out of here, but it looks like the 2-hour should be already. Nope, the 1 hour. Yep. So the 1 hour is trying to pull out of this bearish control zone and recheck its RSI. And a lot of big moves often happen when the 1 hour RSI is about right here, especially when it's coming down to check its RSI. You'll see a lot of pops up. So let's backtest that real quick. And then I'll probably pull up that song here. All right, so let's look. So you're pulling out of a... All right, so right after you pull out of this and you recheck the line is oftentimes when a big move happens. So let's look at July 9th at 0600 hours. Watch it make me a liar. So 2 hours before a big move. And it... Actually, no, it coincided right with the checking. So right as it got above that red zone, came down and checked its RSI. That's actually right. I think that's exactly when it happened. 0700 hours. Yeah, so I was an hour off. Sorry. So on the hour chart, it often does get some good reaction. So you see here, came down to check it around July 5th, around 2000 hours. Right there. Before a blast off. So a lot of these blasts happen right as the 1 hour RSI and its EMA, what am I doing? Get above that red line and come down to check it and make sure it's support. And then you often get a blast off. So Bitcoin's 1 hour is at that point right now. So here it looks like the blast off happened after it checked it up here. But usually it's somewhere in this range where if you get a check, you'll often get a pretty big bounce. So if you make a small rule for yourself, don't take on longs, right? Unless the 1 hour RSI is above its EMA. Don't try to catch knives down low. You'll sometimes catch a pretty big move up, especially if you do it when the 1 hour checks this, when it's roughly above this line here. So let's do another one. So came down to check its RSI at 1100 hours, June 13th. Right there. See that? The big move. And it happened as RSI was crawling out. Right here. Crawling out. Got above the red line. Came back down to recheck the line. And then kablam. So a lot of these big moves happen after the RSI is to a certain point and rechecks. Most moves happen after, like right here. At those points during a recheck down. Now, does it happen every time? Hell no, it doesn't. Sometimes it just... Like the recheck down, it busts right through, just like this, right? So it doesn't always, I'm not saying it leads to a big move. Sometimes it leads to big moves down. When it fails, when the RSI, the white line, the moving average, gets roughly to this white line, the horizontal white line, that's when big moves down happen too, because that means it couldn't hold it and it fails. And a lot of people are looking at RSI, especially on the 1 hour. 1 hour is a very popularly traded time frame. So the good thing is that the hour is performing that right now, as the 4 hour just had two really nice closures. Even though this is a red candle, that's a nice closure. So what this beginning of this trade could be is, you could lose it and just really tank to the downside. That could absolutely happen. But in a bullish scenario, this could be stopping for hunts right now before the move up to this EMA or some horizontal up here. Stop hunting is a real thing, and that could be what this candle is. But it could also literally mean that it's just failed it and it's heading back down to a new lower low, right? So you got to pick a point to decide. And if you decide to try it, a good time to try it is when the 1 hour is above that red line and coming back down to check its RSI's EMA. It's a pretty good time to try that sort of thing. And obviously, if you were to try it with leverage, which I am not suggesting, not financial advice, I would absolutely set my stops. Yeah, and if you're using something like 5x leverage, which is a lot, your stops need to be less than 1% under your average dollar in, your average price in. Because if it goes down 1%, you lose 5% of the money you just put in there, right? So you got to set stops. But that's why it's actually advantageous to use less leverage, because your stops don't have to be so tight. And Bitcoin's very volatile, so why not use less leverage and get things more right without getting stopped out when you're sleeping or during the day or whatever. Anyway, so that's that's what I got for Bitcoin. That's my hopium, even though, again, reiteration, which is why I'm going to play this song here, is because, last market cycle, bear market, there were reports of, higher level folks in, higher financial echelons of society committing suicide and stuff, or just normal people too. But there were a lot of stories about people killing themselves. So in the bearish case, if price really starts tanking down to the weekly 200, which is completely possible on the weekly, just remember, if you're in crypto chats and everything, there are a lot of people out there, who put more money into crypto than what they should have, thinking it was up forever, and it could be a really hard time for them. So if you're not somebody who is affected by depression, just realize, that's why I'm going to play this song here, is realize that if you're in crypto chats or whatever, there might be a lot of people having a hard time. So try to not be a dickhead or or whatever. Don't be mean to people. But also, if you have been somebody affected by depression before, but not a financial one, just know that, and I'm going to play this song, for people who have been affected by, or currently with depression, but financial depression, it can sneak up on you just like any depression can. And a lot of times it has you by the neck before you realize there's somebody getting ready to strangle you. So just don't. So if you're that type of person who has been affected or currently has been affected in the past or is currently affected by it, just know, and it's not a financial stimulated depression, just realize, just emotionally prepare yourself for downside so that you are not affected by it. And which is why I'll play the song for anybody who cares enough to listen to it. It's a pretty good song. The beginning is slow, then it turns more into like Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses, and then at the end it sounds more like Sarah McLachlan. It's not a typical song structure. I essentially mashed up best parts out of like maybe 3 different songs I had written, because I just didn't like the whole song, and I put it together. And so it doesn't follow like, a verse, verse, jump, chorus, like that. That's what all music nowadays or some close variant to that. And this just keeps going. And it ends with the first verse. Actually, it ends with the second verse, just first and second verse snippets. So anyway, yeah, that's what we'll do. And here we go.
I came prepared for the day, but you just beat me down like a nail. The same night song just hit my head, but who are you to tell me what is real? Your lullaby, oh, but it doesn't ever calm me down. I can't take this and damn place no more, and I can't get out of here. I'm stuck in between. Get this thought out of my head, oh, and you can't help me. And I can't find a way to swallow my pain. devil again. Why? Yeah. So I say, why don't you help me by giving me a break when I fail instead, and I'm always giving me that hate with that face. Baby, come on, you better hurry before I fade away. Yeah, and then maybe you'll find me dead and cold on the floor. Yeah, you heard that right. Unfortunately, so right, I'll say it again. Dead and cold on the floor. I still can't take this damn place no more, and I still can't get out of here. I can't play. I still can't get this thought out of my head. Oh, and you can't help me. Oh, you still can't help me. Hey, yo, listen up, that's my lullaby. One more time, because my lullaby. The choice to live is still so hard.
Check it out. Yeah, that's dark as heck, isn't it? Cold and dead on the floor, all that stuff. But it was inspired by a Bad Flower song called Ghost. But I had already been working on pieces even before I ever heard that song. But what made me mix it together was thinking, well, that was a good song, and it is an important message out to people. So I finished it and thought I'd release it to y'all. Hope you enjoyed it. If you are new and you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe. And if you do subscribe, leave me a comment whether you want to be a cryptillion or a crypto crackhead. Part of the bylaws of this community is you need to pick a crypto pronoun, and hit the like button if you liked the video. We'll see you next time.